Hey there, everybody. It's Mark Kepp with CampgroundViews.com. And today I've got Ron from Phelps Honeywagon with me today. And he's going to tell us how Honeywagons deliver sweet sugar to all of your guests in the park. Is that what Honeywagons do, Ron?
Not quite, not quite. It actually removes some of that.
So for those who don't know, what is a Honeywagon?
Honeywagon basically is portable wastewater. It's a way to remove wastewater from the RVs or holding tanks without doing in-ground sewer.
And what's the basic premise? How does it work?
Basically, it has a tank on a trailer and has a pump. So it would pump the wastewater into the holding tank on the Honeywagon trailer, and then you would take that, tow that to your dump station, your septic tank, your treatment plant, and dispose of it there.
You know, Honeywagon, it's funny. We were just up in Arizona. We were doing a mine tour, and down in the mine, they had the old mine car that was the toilet. Basically, they rolled it on a mine car, and it was called a Honeywagon. So I mean, it's not like this is a new name. This has been around, you know, for as long as people need to move wastewater and so forth. So the idea of a Honeywagon for a campground is probably not relatively new, but for some folks, the whole concept of using it and having one may be relatively new. Why would a park want this, and what value does it add to them or their guests?
Basically, the value it would add to them and their guests. One, for them, it tends to increase the length of stay, because if their guests have to break camp to go empty their holding tanks on their RV, they're going down the road. Typically, if I have to break camp, I may as well go 2 hours north, 2 hours south, whatever, and explore another place. And people have told us they found that they have increased their length of stay. The other thing they found is people want to have a way to handle that. And so if they don't have in-ground sewer, don't have sites available for in-ground sewer, they will go to some other park that does. And so this way they can take an area of their park that maybe doesn't have sewer and open it up to people that want, water, electric, and sewer sites. Or they can take and put holding tanks in with park models, cabins, and then pump those holding tanks without having to plumb in-ground sewer in, which is more expensive.
And so what's when you're operating a Honeywagon, I guess this is actually a good image we have here up on the screen. So the hose is attached to the pump that's here on the front. You wind it here for storage. Does it just have a standard RV connection on the other end of it?
Correct, it does. It has an RV connection with the site, basically a section of clear hose for site, so that you know when you're empty or if something's coming through that you don't want, which may sound a little strange to someone that's never done any pumping, but you talk to someone that has done pumping, they want to know what's going on with the fluid, whether it's going through or not going through or whatever.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a very simple setup, but it's a functioning setup that works and gets the job done.
And so you've got, I see the different models are basically the size of the tank, right? 300, 325. Is that what we're looking at?
That's correct. Basically the size of the tank, size of the trailer to handle the weight.
And then how do you choose what size you need for your park? Does it just vary on what you're going to tow it with, or, what are your rules of thumb for that?
Basically, you are correct. One of it's what you want to tow with, because you need a decent size. The larger you go, of course, the more capability of tow vehicle you need. The other thing would depend on the volume that you're doing each time you go out. Are you going out daily? You going out once a week? You going out twice a week? Do you have a park of 500, 600 sites that you have to do all of them? You have a park you're only doing 20 sites.
So how would you figure that out? Is it a guesstimate when you start if you've never done this before, or or is there some sort of math equation you can figure out to know what you need?
Well, a lot of it's going to be based on your customers. I mean, if it's never been done before in your park, you're not going to want to start with a 1,000-gallon unit. But if you're putting in holding tanks, like if you're putting a section of your park in that maybe you're putting in park models and you want to put holding tanks on those park models because it's not convenient or cost prohibitive for you to do in-ground sewer to those park models, now you're going to be pumping 300 gallons at a shot. So you want a larger unit to handle that. You don't want to make 2 trips back to each site.
Oh, that's interesting. So those park models, when people are doing that, that's how big those holding tanks are they're putting on it? They're very large?
Yes.
Okay.
Because typically, unless it's like a cabin that just has a RV style toilet and a sink. But if you start putting showers, then you have a lot more volume of water.
Very interesting. So you fill up the tank, obviously, once it's full, you go to your dump station and just empty it out. And it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. Now, we do have a couple customers that actually don't have any way of handling waste on their campground. There, they have to tow it, remove it from the campground, and take it to a municipal treatment plant and stuff like that. That changes everything.
What do you recommend? So somebody's doing a Honeywagon service now at their park, and obviously we've just gone through an issue with a real concern about viruses and illnesses and so forth. What do you recommend that their teams wear, and what precautions should they take to protect themselves from interacting with any fluids?
The biggest thing we're recommending is make sure you use some sort of heavy duty. So most guys are using disposable gloves, and then they may put another heavier rubber glove over top of that. But that type of disposable glove is most what guys are using. And some people even go as far as put the disposable glove on, and then they'll put another longer glove that comes up 3/4 up, up the elbow.
Yeah, like the gardening style glove.
Correct. Maybe even a little heavier rubber than that they can hose off when they're done, but they have protection underneath them from anything that would fall inside that glove.
Got it. So Honeywagon Services, I do know what they are in the essence that, I've had to use it at a few parks, and they're usually parks, as you said, that don't have full hookups, but it's added on as a service, and the staff comes around and kind of does it. What do you advise as best practices for that process? Do you recommend they do it on the same day every week? Do they knock on the doors as they go around doing it? How do you recommend parks handle that service for guests?
Parks do a whole variety of things, but most of the time, what they have like 1 day a week or 2 days a week they do it. Depending on the size of the park. I have people that do it every day, but most of them are doing it 1 or 2 days a week, and they would go to the office. The RV customer would go to the office and say, or call the office or whatever and say, I need pump out service tomorrow or whatever, and if it's not included in the site rent, they would pay for it. But there's different ways that they handle the revenue, whether it's paid per pump or included into the lot rent, the site rent, include, however they work with it.
So I notice here you've got different industries on here, and that's actually an interesting one. What is the most unique use you've seen of your product, and what industry is that in?
Oh, wow. Biofuels was the most unique. That hit the splash in the pan and kind of backed way off, because when that took away, when gas prices or fuel prices got real expensive, biofuel kicked in. People were using our product for that. And now that's not, that you don't hear a whole lot about the biofuel industry right now.
Right.
But the mining industry, the RV or the railroad industry, the mining industry probably was the one that caught us off guard. We actually received a phone call from a mine maintenance manager that said, the general manager was out camping, saw our Honeywagon, come back, said, we need that for our mine. And I'm like, talk to me. I never even thought about that whole process. And he told me what they needed done. It's like, sure, we can fix you up with what we're doing.
Very interesting. Did you put it on rails, or was it on wheels like it is now?
His is actually on wheels. What they're doing is they have basically stations down in the mine that they actually drive this unit around, and then they pull it out when it's full and
wow,
take the process.
That's very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, it's Phelps Honeywagon. How can they reach you, and what's a price point for these things? What should they be? General range from cheapest to most expensive.
The cheapest is in the $4,000 or $5,000 range, up to, if you go clear up to the 1,000 gallon, you're in the $15,000 range.
And what's the useful lifespan of one of these units?
25 years.
Okay.
So yeah, and even longer than that, depending on, how much you're using, how they take care of it, and all that.
And you could finance this as equipment, correct?
You sure can. Yep.
Okay.
We have people do it all the time.
Very cool. So PhelpsHoneywagon.com, Ron, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can do it info@PhelpsHoneywagon.com. They can call our 800 number, 1-800-463-3707. Either way, and we'll definitely be more than happy to answer any questions and work with them.
Very cool. So the whole reason we do these videos is to help you learn more about running your parks. Ron, we didn't charge anything for this one, did we?
No, you did not. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, completely free. We just want to help you get the information that's available to you to help you run your parks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I gotta cut that. No, I'll go trade.